I think we can all agree that there are definitely different tiers when it comes to the whole collecting hobby of fragrances, cologne. You have your more basic entry-level scents, and then you have your more intermediate to advanced level scents, and that could be on both the designer and niche side. So today I wanted to go over 10 designer fragrances that turn you from a beginner to a pro, an expert. And why is that? Well, that's because most people who are just getting into fragrances aren't going to be gravitating towards these. These may be a bit too advanced, they may not be appealing to them. But if you get your hands on these, you start getting used to them and wearing them and really take a liking to them, you're going to be separated from the more entry-level scents. And also let me say, there's nothing wrong with beginner or more basic scents at all. I own a ton of them and I wear them often. But sometimes you may want a bit more. Sometimes you may want to push yourself, you may want to challenge yourself, you may want something with a little bit more of a complexity. And in that scenario, these are going to be the 10 for you. Let's get into it. First up, we have a fragrance from Chanel, one of the top designer brands ever. This one is Platinum Egoiste. Everyone has Blue de Chanel, so that one is definitely not going to be in here. A good amount of people have Allure Homme Sport Extreme, Allure Homme Sport, and so on, and the original Allure. But not too many people are really going to gravitate towards Platinum Egoiste like the other ones. The reason why is because this has more traditional barbershop fougere type of smell to it. It's going to be very rare that you have someone just getting into fragrances reaching towards this one and saying how much they love it, and it may not be for them right off the bat. If I would have smelled this back when I first started collecting, I would have hated it. But now, this is one of my favorites from Chanel. I love this stuff. It's so clean, it's so fresh, it's so wearable and versatile. This is a great scent. It is expensive because, again, it is a Chanel, but it does pop up on discounters and it is worth the price because of its quality, its performance, and its wearability. All of those things are very good. Lavender and geranium are a couple of the key notes. Again, aromatic fougere style scent, but with a bit more of a modern, fresh, younger guy approach. It's really nice stuff. Next up, we have Bentley for Men Absolute. Cedarwood and pink pepper are going to be some of the main notes here. And really, that's all you need to know. This is a woody fragrance from opening to dry down. That's what you get out of it. It's a very dry woodiness too. People have compared it before to pencil shavings just because of how spicy and dry it is, and I can see where they're coming from, but rest assured this doesn't smell like you're sharpening a pencil back in middle school. This is much more sophisticated and advanced than that, and well, you would hope it is, and I can tell you that, yeah, it is. What's nice about this is it's not too awfully expensive. I think you can get it for under $40, around $30, $35, I think is where it usually falls on discounters, and it's worth every penny and then some. I would pay $50 for this stuff, kind of similar with Bentley for Men Intense. That one is also very good and affordable. The quality is great, the performance is great, and another thing that makes this one so fantastic and such a good pickup is it smells very similar to Gucci Pour Homme, the original. That one had the creative direction of Tom Ford back when he was doing scents for Gucci, and that's when some of the best fragrances for men were made, period. Gucci Envy, Gucci Pour Homme 1, Gucci Rush, all of those ones there. Those were headed by Tom Ford, and he did an amazing job, and now he's got his own private blend line, which is stellar in and of itself. Unfortunately, that Gucci is discontinued. Actually, all of those ones that I mentioned are. They discontinued some of their best fragrances, which is usually how it works, and so you can't really get it anymore without paying a ton of money. That's where this one comes in. Great, great alternative. And I have a sample of the original Gucci, and I can vouch for it. This stuff gets really close. Next up, a fragrance from John Varvatos. This one is John Varvatos Oud. So it's got oud, incense, and tobacco as some of the main notes. Really, really fantastic. I remember first getting this one in and just being so impressed. It was on my radar for a while as I was kind of going through and collecting a bunch of these John Varvatos. That's usually kind of how I work is I'll kind of focus on a line and I'll just try to get all of them. You know, I like to have a complete line of every fragrance line that I own, kind of a completionist in that way. So I'll just kind of pick a line that I don't really have too much of yet and just go through and get them all. And this was kind of one of the last ones I ended up getting aside from the new releases. And I wish I would have gotten this one sooner. You'll notice here this bottle is a bit bigger. It's got a lot of detail to it. Overall, it's just heftier. You can see it's a bit wider there. Nice accenting in the cap. Just kind of your standard thing going on. The cap has some weight to it as well. It's just a bigger, bulkier presentation all around. And it also does demand a little bit of a higher price on discounters compared to some of the other ones. But in my opinion, it is worth it. It's very high quality, and it's a very wearable designer level oud as well. Nothing that's going to be overboard, nothing that's going to be too strong or too harsh. This still has the potential to get you positive feedback, and it would appeal to a lot of guys. But at the same time, this thing here, having a bit of a difference about it, it's going to set you apart from the beginner level scents out there. Let's keep it moving here with a Guerlain, and yes, I know this is technically not a designer brand, but for the purpose of this video, it is. This is L'Homme Ideal Eau de Parfum. Cherry, almond, and vanilla are going to be some of the key components here in this one. And yeah, I did not like this when I first got it, and that's because I was new. I just didn't really have an understanding of this yet. You know, it just didn't really work for me. Now, being that I've experienced many other things, it's one of my favorites. I love this stuff. The cherry and the almond mixture is so good. I mean, this stuff makes me so happy. Every time I smell it, I love it more and more. Like I've said a few times here recently, you know, I love summer, but I'm really looking forward to getting into fall and winter after that for the fragrances. And this here is one of the motives behind that. I'm ready for fall. I'm ready for that crisp air. I'm ready for the leaves and everything to start changing, because this here is a stunner, a banger, a heater in fall. It's just sexy and inviting, and it's a nice transitional scent. It's just sexy and inviting, and it's a nice transitional scent. It'll work in winter as well, and you could rock it into early spring, but fall is really kind of my favorite time for this one. There's just something about it. Still get a bit of freshness, but still has a bit of a warm, creamy sweetness. Amazing stuff. Next up, we have Terre Eau de Parfum. Orange, woods, and oak moss are going to be some of the main notes. So most people know the original Terre, but not too many people are really going out of their way to talk about the Parfum. This is a much more strong, much more potent version of the original, which is already very strong, very woods heavy, very orange heavy. People kind of compare it to smelling like a dirty, earthy orange. This one makes it, and this one here takes that to the next level. For me, I like it because it just does give it a bit more variety. You know, it's just so strong, so potent, both in its performance and also just its delivery, its scent profile, that makes it a bit more unique. You have to like oak moss, you have to like woods, you have to like orange to like this one. Man, full disclosure, it's not going to be for everyone. Even the original Terre isn't for everyone either. And it's not to say that that is a basic scent. I don't really think any from this line are necessarily basic or beginner level. But this one here is definitely going to be more for the pros, more for the experts. When you kind of have a really refined taste and you know what you're after, this is going to be very well suited for you. Let's keep it moving here with Givenchy Gentleman Eau de Parfum. Vanilla, iris, and black pepper are some of the main notes. So this is another one here where it's going to be on the sweeter side, and you'll notice the majority of the fragrances in here are on the sweeter side. It's more cooler weather based scents, and that's for a reason. That's just because generally these are going to be a bit more challenging and have a bit more substance to them, which is traditionally kind of what the fragrance expert or pro is going to be gravitating towards. You know, something with a bit more variety. This offers that as well. It's creamy, it's smooth, it's sweet. It's perfect for the cooler weather, and honestly, it's a really nice alternative to Dior Homme Intense, which is a bit more, I don't know, it's a bit harder to pull off for some people. This one's a bit more wearable overall, and I really enjoy it for that aspect. But at the same time, it's definitely not beginner level or basic, at least to me. You know, I would say a lot of people just getting into it, used to the freshies, would smell this and not like it. But over time, you may really grow on this one and love it. Next up, we have a fragrance from Prada, which is basically the designer king of soapy fragrances. This one is Amber Pour Homme Intense. Patchouli, sandalwood, and myrrh are going to be some of the main players here. Primarily the patchouli, and that's kind of a make it or break it. Some people will smell this and pick up on the patchouli and just love it because it's kind of a little bit earthy, a little bit dirty. It's just got a little bit of a more traditional, classic patchouli smell to it. Kind of borderline old school smelling a little. Other people will smell it and absolutely hate it. So just kind of got to take your pick. Just because you don't like this doesn't make you a beginner, or doesn't mean that you're all about the basic beginner level scents. It's all variety here. Everyone has their own taste. But I will say that this is definitely not beginner level. I mean, you have to have an appreciation for stuff like this to enjoy it. And that's something that most beginners aren't going to have. I really like it though. Soapy clean while still having a lot of depth. It's good stuff, and Prada does it best. Next up, we have L'Envol de Cartier. Honey, iris, and lavender are some of the main notes here in this one. Very cool bottle. This is an eau de parfum, and they do also make this in a not so strange bottle. Basically how it works, you can just twist this to reveal the atomizer, and you have this outer glass down here at the bottom. And honestly, it is a miracle that this did not get broken during my move, because I did not take any sort of precaution to wrap this up. I didn't save the box, I never do. I didn't wrap it in newspaper or anything. I didn't put it in its own little separate box and buckle it up in the passenger seat of my car and drive it over here. I just kind of sat it upright in a box with the rest of my stuff, and hey, it survived. So while you may think it's super flimsy or super fragile, and it could be, but it survived a move with me not caring, so that's pretty cool. Great stuff though, very, very classy. This is for the gentleman. This is for the man who wants something that's not traditional, at least in a sense of being that everyone's wearing. You know, it's has a bit more of a masculine, traditional type of smell to it, but it's definitely not basic, and it's not something that you're going to smell every guy wearing as you walk down the street. You need to have a bit more of a refined taste to enjoy this one, but if you're after something very classy, very upscale, and just a great high quality scent from Cartier, this one here is a must-have. Running down to the end here, we have Bottega Veneta Pour Homme Extreme. Pine tree, juniper berries, fur, and leather are some of the main notes. This is the outdoorsman's dream. This is the lumberjack's dream. I really do love the outdoors. I love and this is obvious, you watch a lot of my videos that are outdoors and that are kind of in the woods with a nice tree backdrop. That's one of my favorite things. I just love being outside, hearing all the different sounds, and peace and quiet as well, and just being outside. It's just something that I kind of need to, kind of unwind, I guess, and everyone kind of has their things, and that's one of them for me, is just the outdoors, especially kind of in nature like that. I love everything about it, and so when I have a fragrance that kind of encapsulates that for me, of course, I'm going to be head over heels, and that's how it is with Bottega Veneta Pour Homme. The original and the extreme, and even the Parfum, they're all great, and they really do capture this pine tree, pine needle smell, this fur, the juniper berries gives it a bit of a kind of a bright, fresh pop, and this one here with a bit of leather, adding even more of a masculine touch. This is man in a bottle. If you're after the sweeter, bubblegummy fragrances, or just sweeter scents in general, which has been the majority of this list, this is not going to be for you. This is the opposite, but it's great, great stuff. And most beginners are not really going to want anything to do with this stuff, but more for us, or at least me. Last up, we have a bit of a hype monster. This one came out, people got their nose on it. It got great reviews, and I gave it a good review myself, and then you couldn't get it anywhere. Out of stock everywhere, and I'm still not fully sure what the stock situation is on this one, so I apologize if it's still out of stock, but I wanted to include it anyway because it's a great scent, and if you can find it and buy it, then definitely go for it. Rochas Moustache Eau de Parfum. The bottle is obnoxiously heavy. I mean, this thing has serious weight to it, to where if you club someone on the head with this, you could catch a murder charge, like no joke. This is one of the heavier bottles I have. I would like to rival this against Parfums de Marly. I have a scale, a little like a postage scale. Well, I like to weigh them out and see what it's going to be. The PDMs are primarily heavy for the cap. This is heavy from the actual bottle itself. This is a thick, solid glass, and the cap isn't really necessarily cheap or flimsy either. Great presentation for not a whole lot of money when it is in stock. Of course, if the prices are inflated or whatever due to supply and demand, there's nothing I can do about that, but when the market for this is healthy and when there's a sufficient stock for this, it's not overly expensive. I mean, this is great presentation and the scent is even better. Vanilla, cedarwood, and patchouli are some of the main players here. And if you're unaware and haven't seen any of the hype surrounding this one, it's a fragrance that smells like Yves Saint Laurent Tuxedo, which is like, what is it, $250 for the standard size bottle. It is not a cheap scent. It's from their La Collection line or whatever. Very expensive, but it's a great scent. This one here gets you undeniably close, and it's just so unique. It's creamy, it's smooth, it's sweet. It is masculine, upscale, and this here is a fall gem. I remember getting Tuxedo and just being like, this has to be kind of created for fall time, because again, I really love that time of year, fall, autumn, and just getting it and wearing it and smelling it in the crisp, cool air. I was in love, and it is a weapon, a dangerous weapon for compliments in the fall. Have fun with it. This stuff is amazing. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. That was 10 fragrances that make you go from beginner to advanced, expert, pro level in the fragrance community. I know people are going to get triggered by the whole pro, advanced type of thing. It's just all, kind of tongue-in-cheek. There really is no levels to it necessarily. And you can go down the niche road and all that stuff and then consider yourself a pro or an expert or whatever. This video is just for fun, but there definitely are different tiers of fragrances in terms of what beginners will gravitate towards versus what people who are a bit more seasoned will gravitate towards. And these fragrances here in this video are going to be ones that the more seasoned individual will gravitate towards. If you hand any of these to your average Joe on the streets and have them smell it, you're probably not looking too good in terms of the success rate. Now, if you do want to grab any of these, I will link them down below to Discounter so you can check them out there and get a really nice deal on these. That's going to do it for me, guys. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you for watching and sticking with me as I'm kind of getting back into the everyday schedule here. It was a crazy couple of months with the whole move and everything and trying to handle everything, especially within this market. And so, yeah, had to kind of dial back the videos there for a bit. Everything was packed up, but that was hard as well. People got mad because I couldn't show the bottles. It's just a whole thing, so apologies for that, but the bottles are back now. I'm sifting through and getting them unpacked. So, again, thanks for sticking with me. Thanks for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.